Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Movement Monday, and today we're going to be covering the overhead hold. Okay, so although this is not necessarily a movement, it's an isometric exercise, which means you're going to be holding that same position. There's no lengthening and there's no shortening of the muscle per se. It's just going to be stuck in one position, but it will be under tension. Okay, so that is pretty much the definition of isometric. So yeah, the hollow hold, because it's not a movement, there's not going to be too much to explain in terms of its technique, but there are a few considerations to take into consideration when doing this. Okay, so there's a few touch points that I'd like to mention, just so that when you're doing it, you can make sure that it's perfect, so that you are not at risk for injury. So just to run you through those things now. So the overhead hold, you're pretty much going to be in this position. You can be standing, you can be seated, you can be on your knees. Arms will be straight above your head. You are holding objects of some sort. It can be a barbell, dumbbell, kettlebell. We'll get into that a little bit later. So you'll pretty much have your arms above your head like this, straight above your head. But let's talk about a few key points here. So if you struggle with a little bit of shoulder mobility like I do, there's a lot of things that I need to still work on. If you are struggling with that, it's going to make this movement exponentially harder. Okay, so just bear that in mind if you cannot remain directly in your midline with the hold. Okay, so first things first, arm needs to be there. Watch out for any compensation in the spine. So what often happens is, if someone does struggle, say, getting the arm past this point, right, they might hyperextend back in order to get this within the midline, or getting the force of whatever's in their hand in perpendicular with gravity, so that it's not out of alignment. If you can understand, if you can grasp what I'm trying to say here. So the compensation that often happens is hyperextension on the back to get this more vertical, let's say. And yeah, so those are probably the most crucial things. Also, having the arms not too far out, having them a little bit closer in, also makes a difference to how it actually works on the body. You'll find that people using a barbell might revert to a slightly wider grip. Okay, this is because you can. If you're holding onto a barbell, the barbell is not going to pull apart like that, so you can get away with it. Whereas if you start using a dumbbell, for example, the dumbbells, because there's weight behind it and they are not stuck together, if you are slightly outside of the midline, that dumbbell is going to pull your arm down this way. Okay, so this kind of was a good segue into what I needed to explain for its progression. So once you've got that hang of the barbell or some fixed object that you're holding with both hands, a nice way to progress it is to move on to something like a dumbbell where things are not fixed together. This adds a new dimension to the stability demands on the shoulder. Okay, so what's nice is the dumbbell, because it's not stuck together, it's easy to hold. You can turn your arms, your hands this way or this way. That makes a slight difference in the musculature and how it is holding in place. Okay, and then the next step up from that is actually a kettlebell. And the reason for this is the kettlebell, its weight distribution is a little bit different to the dumbbell. So the dumbbell is kind of neutral in the hand, and it's got the weights on either side, so it's pretty evened out. Whereas the kettlebell, if you're holding it correctly and your weight is straight, the weight's actually sitting here. And it's also, it moves quite a bit as well, so it adds an extra instability. And at the end of the day, when you're training stability, you want to put the body, or whatever you are training, under the highest manageable instability situations possible in order to adapt to that situation. So that's pretty much a sum up of what we are trying to achieve with this overhead hold, is to try to place certain instability demands on the shoulder so that it can adapt to being a little more stable in that situation. So just to show you what it looks like with some form of simulation, so pretend this is a barbell. You can start off with a broomstick as well, just to get used to it. But what I suggest is, before you add in too much weight, before adding too much weight at all, I would suggest working on that mobility if you do not have it. Okay. If you want some help on that, you can get in touch with us. We're happy to help you with that, some overhead mobility stuff. So yeah, this is what it would look like with a barbell pretty much. So like I said, some people would adopt slightly wider, okay? But this does change things in terms of how, what muscles are working in order to keep it there. But by going wider actually allows the person to go more into their midline than if it was closer together and they do struggle with shoulder mobility, that's what probably would happen. So going wider allows this. Okay, that's why you'll find if you see people doing overhead squats, most of the time they're not doing it from here, unless they Chinese weightlifters. But usually they would adopt somewhat of a wider grip when doing overhead squats. Okay. Next step up would be using dumbbells. So grab the dumbbells. Alright. So this is what it would look like with the dumbbells. Okay, you want to try to keep those arms locked straight and straight above your head in the midline, because as you can see, if it moves out of your midline, it's just going to throw me forward. Okay, so you want to make sure that those dumbbells stay in the midline, and as you could see when I was there, nothing was keeping my arms together, so you had to bring it a little bit closer than what you would have with the barbell, otherwise it would just fall out to the side. And then very similar with the kettlebells. So as you can see here, we've gone overhead, but you can see where the kettlebell head is, or the actual ball is somewhat on the other side of my arm, which means that the distribution of the weight is going to be a little bit different, okay? And that throws the balance of the shoulder out a little bit, but it challenges all those little muscles that are stabilizing around the shoulder capsule to really start working. And that's what you want at the end of the day. So my suggestion for progression would be starting off with like a bar of some sort, then maybe start adding a little bit of weight to that, holding it for between 30 seconds to 1 minute. Then you progress to dumbbells once you've got that overhead mobility going, and then you can progress to kettlebells. And from there you can start progressing in terms of weight. Okay, I would rather progress in terms of time before weight. So once you can hold about a minute to 2 minutes, I know it's long, but a minute to 2 minutes with that given weight, then I would say you can start progressing in terms of weight. But I would first get the alignment correct and the idea of the different planes, getting that challenge before you start progressing in weight. And that is it for Movement Monday. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you still have questions on this particular topic, please feel free to comment on this, get in touch with us via social media, and we'll be happy to assist you with your